Hello investors and traders, today I'll speak about the stock market, the main indexes and of course the main financial assets. So let's start with S&P 500, the main index in the US. So here it's 41.22. There is still a probability to see another move down in my mind here, decreasing diagonal, expanding, leading the diagonal, this pattern called. So as I see it, could be the first wave, the second, the third, the fourth and the fifth, and here still a probability to see another move down. In this case the downside about 20%. Look, the interest rate, the Fed fund rate now is more than 5%. A little bit later I will speak about it, but the interest rate is still very high, and the inflation around 5%. Yes, it's increasing from 9 to 5, but 5% still a lot. So there is still a lot of problems in the US economy. So that's why I can afford to myself heavily buying stocks. But any case, we see that the S&P 500, the flagman index, continue to raise in this year, but I personally don't believe in this increasement. The Nasdaq and IT companies index also about 20% up since the beginning of the year, but here as for me there are a few interesting levels when I would like to buy stocks. It can be about 9,000, 10,000, but the levels of 13,000, although we down from its high levels about 20%. Anyway, for me it's very expensive to buy IT companies. The DXY and the index dollar, as I told you the last months, the hiking interest hiking, the Fed funking of interest rates is very close to it finishing. So in the future there is highly probability that we may see the US dollar weakening. So that's why I'm expecting to see the US dollar index much lower than 100 points. So in this case my target is about 92, 93 in few years from now. And actually, let's have a look on the next Fed Fund meeting. It will be 34 days from now. It will be the next one in June 14. So the expectations that about 97% it will be the same level of 5.25%. And the next one in July also, the most probably it will be the same, less than half, maybe 45% that it will be downgraded, but still the expectation that it will be 5% in my mind, it's a lot. Let's have a look on the total probabilities. So look, the end of the year, it's the most probably will be 4.5%, so it's a lot. Look, now the US government, the US economy spends more than $1 trillion bucks just for that service, just for paying interest on this total debt. So it's a lot, and of course the high interest rates influence this parameter so much. So anyway, for example, at the end of the next year, 2024, it's just the probability that will be about 3%. So 3%, it's also a lot. I remind you the target long-term inflation, long-term interest rate, it's usually 2%. But here, in 1 year from now, it's expected to be 3. So in my mind, still the interest rate in the near term and long term expected to stay very high. Let's have a look on the TLT, the US Treasury bond. Now it's 105. I have a position in this ETF. I remind you that it's ETF on the US Treasury bond 20 years. So there is a connection if the interest rates raise. So usually the TLT is decreasing, the bonds, the value of bond is decreasing. So now if we are expecting to see interest rate start to decrease. So there here maybe 1 month from now, 1/4 from now, we may see a splash, may see a nice bounce in this asset. Anyway, I receive here a nice dividend yield around 3%, and by the way, the dividend payments are monthly. So for me it's very nice as for me as a dividend investor. So by the way, its performance since the beginning of the year about 2% of this asset, and also I receive a nice dividends. Okay, so let's move to the US, to the Brent oil price. So here, as I see, generally speaking, here I think it's an impulse, the first and the second, the third, the fourth and the fifth. So here the correction may finish, and then I'm expecting to see another spike, another move up in the fifth way, and the upside here is huge, but the first target, it can be 100 bucks. In this case the potential to grow is 36%. So I have a bullish view on oil price, and we'll see of course what will happen. The B2C, the Bitcoin price, I remind you I had position in this asset, but I sold it at 28 kilo. So Bitcoin, of course, it's interesting, you know, all the problems in the US bank system, all the bankruptcy of 3 huge banks, like First Republic Bank, like the second one is VPC, Silicon Valley Bank. So actually there is a opinion that if the US bank will crash, US system may crash. So the B2C, it can be safe, even it can be safe and good place for your money, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the performance since the beginning of the year more than 60%, and of course here still we may see here a potential to grow, but I decided to close this position. For me to take 60% in 4 months, it's okay generally. Now, by the way, it was an impulse, the first, the second, the third, the fourth and the fifth. I'm not sure the fifth way here finished, but it's very likely that after the impulse we may see a correction. That's why I quieted this position, sold it, and I prefer to just to watch what will happen with the B2C in the future. Anyway, I continue to watch this asset, and of course the inverted yield curve is still inverted. The yield curve, I remind you the difference between the 10 yield US Treasury minus the 2-year US Treasury. Usually in the history, look, the difference is positive. It means that the risks in the long run are higher than the short term, but now it's opposite, and that's of course one of the main signs of recession in the near term, in the near future. That's why also I told you that for me it's heavily difficult now to buy equities, to buy risky assets. That's why I prefer to buy US Treasury, dividend stocks like WBA, like Verizon. I would like to receive a passive income, passive cash flow, because all this stuff related to growth stocks for me, at least for this year, it's very risky. I told you that the more than 5% interest rates, the Fed fund rate, the inflation around 5%, the inverted yield curve, and we saw that also a lot of signs of recession. So that's why For me it's now hard to buy risky stocks. But anyway, TLT and risk and dividend stocks with a good and a great dividend history, for me it's a good choice. So if you like this video, of course press the like button, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and see you on the next time. Bye.